I want to talk about some dark secrets in the Epstein files that need to get more attention. This is like the fourth video I've done on this. I did one video on dark secrets originally. Then we went through some more of the details. Then I did a whole video on the connections with Vladimir Putin. I want to spend this video talking about the draft indictment back in 2008 that the federal prosecutors in the Southern District of Florida were going to file against Epstein, but that was ultimately shelved and put aside, where Alex Acosta, then the United States Attorney from the Southern District of Florida, who became Donald Trump's labor secretary during first Trump administration, entered into that sweetheart deal with Epstein, where Epstein was basically just charged with soliciting prostitution when he was running a child sex trafficking ring. I think it's important at the outset that I mention this as well, that Donald Trump is deleting files right now off the DOJ website. He's been busted over and over again doing this. But if you take a look at just the amount of search hits to Donald Trump's name, you're seeing lots of decreases. So as Krasenstein points out, today there's 1,513 results for Donald Trump when you search just his full name like that. And then yesterday there were 199 more files. There's about 1,712 in terms of yesterday. In terms of all of the references, whether it's Trump's name or people referencing him without saying his name, about 38,000 references to Donald Trump in the files that are in about 5,000 documents, in addition to just the search term Donald Trump, because he could be referenced as, you know, the president or him or whatever. So I think that's important to note. I want to go through, though, this draft indictment that was ultimately never filed. It was prepared by the top federal prosecutors in the Southern District of Florida in 2008. And you'll note that when you go to the last page, you'll see it's blank because a grand jury foreperson never had the opportunity to sign it because it was shelved by the Trump regime. Now, the top prosecutors in that office desperately wanted it filed, but Alex Acosta entered into this deal and blindsided all the victims. The victims are very, very young. 14 years old, 15-year-old girls, many of them. And the draft indictment outlines how Epstein would recruit other 14 and 15-year-old girls. It was a very kind of methodical sex trafficking system, using one girl to recruit another girl, and then building a group of underage children who he sexually abused over and over again. I think it's notable, too, at the outset, put up this map right here. You can see the distance between Mar-a-Lago and El Brillo Way. 358 El Brillo Way is where Epstein lived. It was a 4-minute drive. It's walking distance. I think this graphic from the Epstein files is illustrative right here. It gives a timeline of the sweetheart deal that Epstein entered into. You'll see here, July 24th, 2006, FBI West Palm Beach Resident Agency opens an investigation at the request of Palm Beach County, who obtained one state felony charge indictment. On May 2007, a 60-count indictment is drafted against Epstein. On July of 2007, Epstein attorneys and AUSAs from the Southern District of Florida met. A deal is offered for 2 state-level charges, solicitation of prostitution and solicitation of prostitution with a minor. The fact that they call it solicitation of prostitution, you mean sex trafficking? You mean raping an underage girl? Is that what you're referring to? Sexually assaulting an underage girl? You'll see on June of 2008, Epstein accepts deal. Then September 2008, Epstein reports to jail, serving less than 13 months, during which Epstein is allowed out of prison 12 hours a day to work at his foundation. As Chris Hayes writes, the original 2007 draft indictment, which was also worked on in 2008, of Epstein by federal prosecutors in Florida, lays out the scope of the systemic abuse he was engaged in, but it was dropped by the office of Alex Acosta after discussions with Epstein's lawyers. Alan Dershowitz, and Kenneth Starr. And it's now public right here. And I'm going to go into it with you. But I want to share with you an email from Anne Marie Villafana. And Anne Marie Villafana was a former federal prosecutor. Her boss was Alex Acosta, who ultimately made the deal with Ken Starr and Dershowitz for Epstein, giving Epstein the sweetheart deal. But here's what the federal prosecutor, who was leading the team of people who prepared the indictment, had to say. Subject, Epstein. Hi, Jeff and Alex, referring to Jeff Sloman, the boss, who is also the head of the criminal division, and Alex Acosta, the head United States attorney. Hi, Jeff and Alex. We just finished interviewing 3 of the girls. I wish you could have been there to see how much this affected them. One girl broke down sobbing so that we had to stop the interview twice within a 20-minute span. She regained her composure enough to continue a short time, but she said that she was having nightmares about Epstein coming after her, and she started to break down again, so we stopped the interview. The second girl, who has a baby girl of her own, told us that she was very upset about the 18-month deal she had read about in the paper. She said that 18 months was nothing and that she heard that the girls could get restitution, but she would rather not get any money and have Epstein spend significant time in jail. The FBI's victim witness coordinator attended, and she has arranged for counseling for several of the girls. Please reach out to Alice to make her decision. These girls deserve so much better than they have received so far, and I hate feeling that there is nothing I can do to help them. We have 4 more girls coming in tomorrow. Can I persuade you to attend? Signed, Anne Marie Villafana, Assistant United States Attorney, and that was dated January 31st, 2008. And as Jacob Shamsian writes, reading this 56-page Florida draft indictment against Epstein, you really see how strong it is, how detailed it is. They had him absolutely nailed. 32 counts on 56 pages, laying out these explosive charges against Epstein and 2 employees for sex trafficking and enticing minors, going into very specific details. One girl victimized in 2001 when she was 14, then again when she was 15 and 16. That victim, identified only as Jane Doe, was also tasked with bringing younger girls to Mr. Epstein. So he found a 14-year-old, and then from her ages of 14 to 16, she was then used by him to recruit other 14-year-old girls. In July 2004, Epstein told the 16-year-old girl that if she reported what occurred at his home, bad things could happen to her. The draft indictment also recounted how much logistical work went into procuring Epstein's victims, from phone calls and messages about the girls' after-school schedules to flights for Mr. Epstein, to his home in Florida to make appointments with his victims. And the document was ultimately left unsigned. Let's take a look at this right here. It lists all of the counts with all of the underage minors involved. Jane Doe 2, Jane Doe 6, Jane Doe 7, Jane Doe 8, dozens of Jane Does. And there are allegations like this. I'll read this for you. In or around 2001, defendant, and it's redacted, placed a telephone call to a telephone used by Jane Doe to make an appointment for Jane Doe number 2 to travel to 358 El Brillo Way. In or around 2002, Jeffrey Epstein paid $400 to Jane Doe number 2, who was then 15 years old, to redacted. Why is this redacted? Under the Epstein Transparency Act, none of this should be redacted. In or around 2002, defendant Epstein asked Jane Doe number 2 if she had any younger friends who would be interested in engaging in similar activities. In or around 2003, defendant, this is all redacted. Why are these names redacted? Jane Doe number 2, who was then 16 years old. In or around 2003, defendant, redacted, paid $500 to Jane Doe number 2 for, then this is redacted. And so this is the pattern of this. Then it goes all the way up to Jane Doe 15, Jane Doe 16, Jane Doe 17, et cetera, as they each get paid to bring in more underage girls into the sex trafficking ring. Absolutely, absolutely disgusting. And I think one of the things to note, as you look at this is just take a look at this email right here. Jeffrey Epstein to Brock Pierce. January 26, 2017. This is what Epstein writes. You can remind Bannon that when the woman accused Donald of raping when she was a 13-year-old, she disappeared. But no media was willing to call her a liar or her statements lies. Same from the University of Virginia Rolling Stone girl. Never once has media used the word lies or lies. Only with Donald. Then it goes on, Epstein to Larry Summers say, recall I've told you, I've met some very bad people. None as bad as Trump. Not one decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous. Look at this email from Epstein's assistant, Leslie Groff, February 17th, 2019. Here are the people who are attending a party, by the way. Sultan Gromarov, Terry Rafat Jabor, Prime Minister of Slovakia. And here are the types of people who are coming here. Blank will fly from Moscow, blank from Belarus, blank from Kyiv, blank from Kyiv. Others from countries I don't know. It's just listing girls who are coming in from different countries. How about this one right here that Epstein received January 17, 2013. New Brazilian just arrived. Sexy and cute. Equal sign 9-year-old. It's unclear if that's meant to say 19-year-old or 9, because that equal sign could be just a missed character. It could mean 19, but then it's all redacted over here, all redacted over here. I mean, this is some really, really sick stuff. And by the way, I'll do a video on this as well, that they're now redacting Melania's face. Oh, and by the way, from the files, they're like, look at this Bates number, EFTA 016111094. And then Donald Trump attacked the survivors at a press conference yesterday. Here's Trump attacking the survivors. Here, play this clip.
I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
The fact that they thought they released too much. You know, I heard that, and you tell me something else. No.
So when people talk about the draft indictment from 2007 into 2008 that was never filed, we just went over it right there so you know the secrets of it and what's actually included. And that this was a very methodical, despicable operation. And then now you look at the other videos that I did, a pedophilic operation. But then remember who Epstein's talking to during this period. All the prime ministers, former prime ministers, world leaders at this time. And in 2002, 2003, Donald Trump said to New York Magazine, Epstein's a great guy, likes women on the younger side. That's what he said. And then Melania wrote to Ghislaine Maxwell, referring to her as G, and said, G, love the New York Magazine profile on you. You look beautiful. Great photos of you. J.E. was amazing. Jeffrey Epstein was amazing in it. That's the article where Trump said that Epstein likes women on the younger side, is the language that Donald Trump used. I think Trump was referring to girls. And don't even get me started that Donald Trump said that with his beauty pageants, he inspects the girls naked because when you're rich, you get away with it. Or when Donald Trump says he grabs women by their vaginas because you're rich, you get away with it. You could sexually assault women if you're as rich as him. And then he said in a deposition, fortunately or unfortunately, that's what rich guys do. You get away with it. Or he said words to that effect. Anyway, there you have it. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million, and thanks for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.